Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Learn the Solo for Into the Void by Black Sabbath. Now, Tony Iommi is a riff master, and, you know, when he does leads, he's still doing riffs. So if you're not familiar with this channel, you know, I don't try to go note for note with leads. I try to gain, you know, the basic vibe, the basic approach, the basic scales, the basic what have you of the song, so that when you go to cover it, you can add a little bit of your own. But with this solo in particular, and you know, most of Tony's solo, they're pretty crafted. Now, I have watched a bunch of live footage, and he does change some things around here or there. So there is some wiggle room, and I'll discuss that as we go through. But for the most part, this is a tune, this whole thing, the whole Black Sabbath vibe is so rhythm-oriented. And the riffs and the grooves are so just interconnected that you really don't get an opportunity to really stretch out improv-wise when you do this. You kind of just got to strap in, buckle up, and just try to nail the groove the whole way. So this song, if you haven't watched the first part, I have a link in the description where I go over the first part of the song. So now we're at the second part, which includes the lead. Check this out. So it starts off with that main verse part there. And it does it twice. And then it goes into the first lead, which is... Now, that is all feel, and obviously I'm not doing it exactly like he did it, but that's the main basic vibe. You're sticking through what looks like your E minor pentatonic shape, but yes, the guitar is tuned in C sharp, right? So I'm just going to talk about how it looks, since most of us are going to be used to playing it in standard E, and we're just going to tune down for songs like this. So this will be your E minor pentatonic box, right? Here's your root, minor third, fourth, fifth, flat 7, root. So it starts out with, right, flat 7, root, flat 3, root. Repeats. Then slides up, your standard basic minor pentatonic move. Then he does something so cool, which you just don't see. I mean, I really don't see many people do it at all, where he bends the root. The bend is on the root. And he's got to get at least to the 9, you know, to the 2. But he kind of gets a little past it, you know. You know. approaching that minor third. And he just lets it linger through the bar, you know. And lets it come down. Now, there's this signature phrase, but you got to get the rhythm right when you come down here. It is, you know, after the, it's, ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da. And he repeats that a bunch of times in the song. Again, that's just, you know, your root to your flat 7. And he slides down, and he's doing it from your 4th to the 3rd. And then, again, he's just staying minor pentatonic, nothing fancy note-wise. It's just all rhythm. And then he, you know, does some variations on this if you watch a bunch of live versions, but it basically takes that same shape back, you know. And then he ends with the. Now all that is so awesome. He's starting on the root, walking down chromatically, 7 to flat 7, rocking over to the 6th string to get your 5th, going back up, and then going over to your minor 3rd and back to your root. And you just do it a bunch. And everything Tony Iommi hangs on, he shakes because he wants it to sustain. Now, after you do that, come the big hits. And there's quite a few big hits. So the first one, he hits that open shape, and then he pulls from the 4 to the flat 5. So that's the 5th fret to the 6th. So. And then he does the same thing again, but on what looks like C. So that will be your 6 to your flat 6 to your 6. And same thing from your flat 7 to your 7. So that's your 10th fret, looks like D, and then all the way up to your root. And again, you're shaking hard for each one. Then it hits again, but he moves to the power chords right here. So it looks like your E. So it's there. Now all that is your minor pentatonic shape. And he's going to go back for each one. And again, there's some slight variations, but for the most part, he keeps these about the same. So it's, you know. Standard lick. You got to get down real quick to get this again. And then he leads on the minor 3rd. And then it goes back. And then finally, he just goes back to your root back here. And he just bends up and goes for that big bend again. And it hangs over the bar. And you kind of have to wait for the drums to come in before you move back into your other part. So it's like this. Right? And so right there is where the drums come in. And then you pick back up on the. Then he does this variation, which has changed over the years. But once he gets back down to this root, he's been teasing on this, sliding up from 4 to 5 to your flat 7, and hanging on that a few times. If you watch different versions, you'll see him do it a little differently. But he's staying in that same minor pentatonic. He's letting everything sustain and just really keeping this rhythm, that whole floaty vibe that just goes over each bar. Then he finishes, usually with a bend on that root again, and then he goes back up into his minor pentatonic box position. And he's just hitting his standard, just holding, bending, and letting it ring out, right? But he's not going to the first string yet. When he goes over here, and he's just... and you think he's going to go do one of these, before he does that, he does the signature lick he does every time, which is the... And all he's doing there is he's on 15 pulling off the 12s, that's your flat 3 pulling off your root, and then pedaling with your 5, which looks like your B, which is your 12th fret of your second string. So and then that's obviously a triplet. At the end of that triplet phrase, then it does the where he goes way up and lets it sing, bending that flat 3, up to the 4 and even up to that flat 5, going even further. Then he does his standard box licks, You're just trying to keep the rhythm together, right? Once you kind of get past that, then it ends with the... And that's how they end the tune. This is such a great solo. I know this is abstract, even though this is a note for note kind of solo where people learn, but it's just minor pentatonic. There's nothing fancy at all about it. What makes it hard is that this is a power trio, right? And the bass is pretty much running the whole time, and the drums are hitting those big, big hits, and he's just got to sustain everywhere. And the way he likes to do it is he likes to have his sustains and shaking the vibrato over the bar of each measure, just letting it really sing and ring through. So when you do this, I highly, highly, highly recommend, like I've been doing for the past 2 hours, play with the track, play with the recorded version, play with a couple different live versions, and get a feel for it, because each one is going to be a little bit different, but the basic theme will take hold, where you have that minor pentatonic thing, you keep going back to the groove, you have those hits, you have your box up here, and then you always have that one little motif that he keeps going back to, that that is repeated over everything, and then obviously that amazing bend from the root. I can't say enough about Tony Iommi. So excited to be doing this. And that's it. I'm going to call it right there. So if you guys like these style lessons, please subscribe, like, tell your friends. And if you haven't yet, please come check out all the cool stuff over at mycommunityguitargate.com. And feel free to leave a hashtag learn the song or learn the solo in any of the comments on any of the social networks. I check them every week. And tell me what you'd like me to show you. And I'm going to learn it, and I'll make a video for you. See you next time.